Bottle. Oh, actually.
Hello, folks. John Shenholzer here, live from Mechanicsville, Virginia, home of the worst internet spot in the state. Anyways, we're very excited. We got a great panel, great bunch of discussers and talkers for tonight. We're going to have an awesome time. Here at McShin, we're celebrating Black History Month, and at Carrot Talks every February, we feature some of the best Black history people we know in the addiction recovery community. And we got an incredible lineup for tonight. You certainly want to stay tuned and hear everything they all have to say. But before I get into our speakers, our co-host, Honesty Liller, I want to hear what she's got to say.
Sure. Hey, everyone. Woman in long-term recovery from addiction since May 27, 2007, and co-founder of Care Talks. Yeah, this month we want to celebrate Black History Month and see how us in the community and our listeners can move forward in helping the Black and Brown community even more through these amazing speakers and their solutions to addiction. So thank you all for being here. And I'm just going to kind of sit back. I have one of the speakers in my office, so we're going to trade spaces soon. But good luck, everyone. And I can't wait to hear your solutions. Thanks.
Good. Well, thank you, Honesty. I hope I don't freeze up too bad and lose too many people tonight. Yeah, be sure and turn you're on mute until it's your turn to talk, and it helps the show go better. Our first somebody he is an incredible young man, but I guess he's not quite as young as when I first met him. Though I've watched in his journey now for over 25 years, and I've seen not only his but I've seen his triumphs as well. And just today, we were down at Richmond City Jail lighting up those men and giving them an incredible hope shot and instilling purpose in them and whatnot. But, I don't want to take too much of Walt's time, so I'm just going to introduce Walt to you and hang on to your seats. Here comes Walt. Give me hell, Walt.
Hey, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Grateful to be a part of Carrot Talk, here at the McShin Foundation with Honesty and John. Great opportunity. Black History Month. What does Black History Month speaks to me, say to me, and also how does we affect our community? As John just said, I had an opportunity today. Where I have an opportunity every day. I'm just fortunate amongst the speakers today who's speaking on Black History Month. I'm just fortunate to be a part of the McShin Foundation. I'm part of the staff, and I go down to the Richmond City Justice Center, weekly. 5 days a week. I take in two groups. To a community of Black males. There is one Caucasian. But it's the minority are Black males. And just have the opportunity to go down there and talk about being a returning citizen. And what is a returning citizen? Was I ever a citizen as a Black man? But here I am. I'm in a community of substance use disorder. That what got me in my position. Trying to find ways and means to escape. My thoughts. My action, my behaviors. And it's amazing how all those things I thought was happening to me, was actually happening for me. It set me up. It set me up as I lived that lifestyle as a substance abuse user, been in and out of incarceration, learning the lifestyle of addiction, taking on some simple suggestions, because I always saw, the Caucasians, as the teachers, as the leader, as the authority figure, not living the lifestyle that I live, but yeah, I lived that lifestyle, been incarcerated, been through drug program, treatment programs, tried recovery programs, so to me, it's like I use drug to manage my lifestyle, living in poverty, because that's all I sold, in the community as a Black man. This all I sold, but not knowing that it was a big setup, a big setup, and I say that because, my drug addiction, it was like a tool that the God of my understanding used for me. Now that I have the experience, been locked up, been incarcerated, what greater person, what greater peer can go back and teach peers? This is Bible scripture, and I love this when I share my story. It said, teach transgressor my ways of doing things. So being a recovering addict, I go back, and I get to teach those other ones who try to identify themselves, are they an addict? And mostly, my community, are the Black race. So Black History Month have an opportunity. And it's amazing how God used whatever platform he chooses to use. And here I am, I'm at the Machine Foundation, where the minority are Caucasians, not Black, but I'm just grateful because at the Machine Foundation, where there's love, there's inspiration, everybody, you talking about equal opportunity, and for the use me based on my live experience, my 26 years, thanks, John, it's 26 years of recovering experience, going back to school as an active addict, doing my action addiction, and I remember being 2 years clean, I relapsed and I stayed with school. It took me 16 years to graduate, but I do have the substance abuse counselor. I got my state board license, end up getting a master's degree, so here it is. There's a position through the Machine Foundation to work in the Richmond City Jail, man. And what better person, one who's been educated, who's a recovering addict, who's been locked up. And today I had a great opportunity to take John with me at the Richmond City Jail. We run a recovery pod, and we have a curriculum that we operate in the Richmond City Jail with our recovery pod. Monday, it's all recovery literature that we operate under. We run a 2-shift, one group from 9 to 11. We take a break, because I got to make sure that I don't get burnt out in a mental state. I got to continue to develop, take some rest time, come back and do another group from 1:30 to 3:30. On Tuesday, we have other people. And before you even could come into the Richmond City Justice Center to do a group, you go to a prayer training, so you go through a prayer training, it's a bunch of videos on how to conduct yourself, in the correctional facility, what you can, what you cannot do, so we go through that type of training. You got to make sure you have your COVID shots, both shots, you have their records of that, and then I'm able to bring other participants into the Richmond Justice Center. And based on the curriculum that we know that work, because the same curriculum, they run it in RSW, they run it in Pamunkey. I mean, the Machine Foundation set me up for a position that I couldn't thank no more than my higher power, who I chose God to go back and share with another community of Black men. I mean, it's Black History Month, and this just an opportunity that I get to do all month, all year long, but this month is special, and then on Tuesday, we bring other facilitators in, and we teach what we call Slay the Dragon, the history of alcoholism. Wednesday, we teach what we call prevent and recover relapse prevention. The curriculum is so nice. It's a lot of things that we teach through the Machine Foundation in the Richmond Justice Center. So, we find a lot of Black males, and I got to continue. I know it's Black History Month, but I got to continue to identify with my race, on this platform at this time. We find a lot of Black males who so quick, to depend on what was given to them as they live the lifestyle. In other words, because they didn't see their fathers in a household. They didn't see their fathers go to work. As a matter of fact, they wasn't even raised by their father. Most of them was raised by a single parent. And so when they see that, they try to fix that or adjust that. And that's the mentality that I took on, because my mother did the best she could, me and my 3 sisters. She did the best she could, but there was a lot of times we didn't have sugar for the Kool-Aid. So I told myself, I'm going to be the man of the house, and I'm going to go out here and I'm going to get some sugar for the Kool-Aid. Whether I try to steal a Latina box of sugar, I ain't trying to steal the 5-pound bag up in my shirt, but I go try to steal a box of sugar, or I go out there and I clean the caps, for the drug dealer before I got into the drug lifestyle. So based on what was taught in my environment, they were my role models. Selling drugs, shooting dice, going up inside the store, and that's what I saw in my community. Trying to be educated, there was too much peer pressure, from my community that I couldn't focus in school. That's why it took me 3 years, to finish 9th grade. I failed 9th grade 3 times. And again, it was peer pressure before the drugs. Then when I picked up the drug, it gave me the courage, to stand before people and act as if I was a part of, and this is the lifestyle of a Black man living in the community. It wasn't until, the judge told my mother, based on that last crime, the last wrong armed robbery charge that I did, the judge told my mother, when he finished school, this is what he said, when he finished school, he either going into jail or he's going in the military. And I did finish school. My mother kept me in school. I was 20 years old when I finally graduated. Most people graduate at the age of 17. But I was going to graduate because when my father did die at the age of 9, my mother got a Social Security check. As long as I stayed in school, she got that check. So being a Black man, being raised in the community by single parents, that's why I say she did the best she could. And I think for the military experience, even though I got put out, it was something. John, we was talking about this earlier today. It's something about being in Germany, smoking that hashish and doing bladder acid, man. I tell you, I got caught up on hashish and bladder acid, right? Long before I started smoking crack cocaine. But when I started smoking that crack cocaine, I tell you, that crack cocaine took me insane. It is amazing. All of that experience, being incarcerated, going through a drug lifestyle, going back to school, being educated, all of that experience that God was carrying me through, I thought it was happening to me. It was actually happening for me that landed me, at the Machine Foundation, working in the Richmond City Justice Center, among my people just like me. I've been incarcerated. I've been shot in the head, a bullet left in my skull. But now I'm able to use all of those things, my experience, my strength and hope, and go back into the Justice Center, Richmond Justice Center, and teach those guys how to recover it, and we learn the different pathways of recovery. My foundation is Narcotics Anonymous, but I'm grateful for the Machine Foundation that opened up multiple pathways of recovery. So, I got a lot of gratitude, in sharing what I have just shared, to the people, but that's my experience, so I'm proud, to be a Black America, but I'm also proud, that when I work, in this community, we don't see no color. As a matter of fact, our color is purple. How about that? So I'm grateful to be a recovering addict. I'm grateful to be a person in long-time recovery. And if it's God's will, this year I'll be celebrating 27 years and working in this field of substance use abuse for the last 23 years, and a proud employee at the Machine Foundation. So thank you. Thank you for allowing me to give that part, to the people. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Walt. Thank you. Very inspiring. I was down in jail today with Walt, and I told the men, I said, being a white guy raised in a white neighborhood, basically, and been on the redneck side, I really didn't know a lot of it. They didn't teach us Black history when I was growing up. Yeah. You got 3 paragraphs each year of school, but that Black History Month, I remember back in the 80s or late 80s, I started watching it on PBS, and I'm telling you, man, I feel like I was cheated out of so much information. I mean, I'm really pissed off at all these white people that rigged the system years ago, didn't educate us and led us to believe all the garbage that we were taught. And I mean, I get so fired up this time of year. I really do. And I see Kevin on here, and Kevin's coming up next, and Kevin's a man we ran into a while back, and he's been very instrumental in keeping our organization together and our recovery house together. I got so much love for this guy, and I
Yes,
recently lost a bunch of weight, and I'm so proud of Kevin. I mean, I'm not happy you were the weight I used to be, and you could fit so nicely into all my but it's good to see my attire out there in the community still. But Kevin, man, I'm so proud of you. I love you so much. I'm so glad you agreed to come on tonight and share with us. And I introduced Kevin to y'all.
Thank you. I'm Kevin, and I am a person in long-term recovery. I'm grateful to be here on this platform with you guys. It's an honor. Thank you, Honesty, for asking me. I'm just going to give you some of my background, and then I'll move on to the solution. I was brought up and raised in Philadelphia. My mother and my father both were addicts. My mother's alive; she's still using. My father died as a result of his addiction. So I grew up with a lot of abandonment issues, and my first drug of choice was food. That was the first thing that I found to make me feel different, change the way I felt. So, I grew up as a obese child, and as I grew up in adolescent years, I started noticing that I had feelings for the same sex. And I really thought I didn't want nothing to do with that. I didn't want any of the stigma, nothing that came with being a gay Black man, So I was introduced to weed. I smoked weed with my mom, when she finally got back into my life when I was 12. I felt like that was a way of keeping her there, using with her. We went from smoking weed to smoking crack together, and it destroyed our relationship. My family, I grew up in a decent neighborhood. I'm grateful for my grandmother and my grandfather and the strong Black women that raised me. My family was the first Black family to move on our block that we grew up on. So, I'm proud of that. As I went on, I had to take care of my father. I had to put some things aside. He got shot and he was paralyzed, and I had to take care of him until he died, which influenced me to go to school to be a CNA. And I did that, and I worked in the field, but I used the whole time. I still used, and the consequences of my using was like homelessness, going to jail. I didn't think that alcohol or drugs was the problem for me. I blamed it on everything but that, and I continued to fight. Continue to use and refuse to surrender to something greater than me. But today I'm grateful for McShin, and grateful to be here in Richmond. I went through a different program before I came to McShin, and I'm grateful for that program for giving me some structure, in my life, and giving me a little so I could feel human again. Finally do some human things, and I'm grateful to be able to help other people today, especially the men at this McShin 28-day program, to see these guys come in there, and because I know what it's like to be broken, and I know what that looks like, so I'm grateful that I could be there to be a hope shot for these guys, and the only way I could do that is to have a foundation and a program that I work of my own. I can't give them something that I don't have. And by me being a gay man, I have to be spiritually fit to be over there. If I wasn't spiritually fit to be there, I would let my sexuality get the best of me dealing with men, and saying that, I have a female sponsor, and I'm grateful to have a female sponsor. And I didn't know why at the time that I chose her, but I wasn't spiritually fit to build a relationship with a man at that time. I don't think I would be able to set boundaries like that. So I'm grateful for my sponsor and to have the opportunity to grow in this process. I take pride in what I do. Since I've been here, I've trained. I'm a peer recovery specialist. I'm a recovery coach. I'm working on my GED. I'm earning my GED so I can get my certification. And these guys, I share this with these guys so they can see that it's possible. You know, it's possible that, you know, we do recover one day at a time, but we have to stay clean. You know, we have to stay clean. And I'm grateful to be able to show them that it's a better way to live. You know, when I first got here, I didn't realize why some of the things was in place, the rules was in place the way they were. You know, and I try to share with these people that these guys that we have to change our thinking. And the way that for me this started was getting up, making my bed, you know, getting back to bathing and wearing clean clothes and doing and eating breakfast and, you know, doing things that normal people, humans do, things that I cheated myself out of that wasn't important to me when I was using, you know, that wasn't important to me. It was all about getting the next one. You know, when I got up, it was the first thing I thought about was what can I put in me so I didn't have to face the reality of what I did to my life by using, you know, so that was my purpose in life. But, you know, today I have a purpose, you know, and I thank McShin for that, you know, and it's keeping me clean. You know, it's giving me the ability to want more out of life. You know, I plan on getting this when I get this GED. I plan on going back to school. I want to get my CSEC like Walter and Moses. You know, I have goals today, you know, and it's possible. It's possible. You know, I robbed myself out of a lot of things, a lot of opportunities by using. You know, I'm 49 years old, you know, and it's not too late for me to get some of these things back because they said, long as I stay clean, sky's the limit, you know, and actually, you know, it feels good to be able to learn, you know, a lot of the things, you know, in school like this math and stuff I'm doing, I'm proud of myself that I could even retain some of this information, you know, because I always thought that I was unable, you know, couldn't learn anything. You know, I never gave myself a chance, you know, I always put myself down. But today is it's a beautiful life. I like the life that I live today. You know, I'm grateful that I don't have a whole lot, but I have peace, I have peace of mind, and I have an opportunity to help somebody else. You know, not be selfish because I didn't care about anything or anybody but myself. You know, today is great to see to have somebody come up to you and say thank you. You know, not for nothing that you gave them material. You know, for giving them some hope. You know, it's a good feeling. It's a real good feeling. You know, and I'm just happy to be here. And I don't really have that much, so thank you.
Good job, Kevin. Gotta love Kevin. You know, our next speaker, I don't know a lot about old Skip here, Helen Skipper, but I do know I had a brief conversation with her before we got started. I got so excited with that brief conversation. I done recruited her for a full hour on our podcast because I can tell this is a true warrior in the recovery space. And I mean, I don't want to take up your time, Skipper. Me and Honesty already decided you can go over a couple of minutes because we were determined that you're going to definitely run over your time a little bit. But I got a feeling it's going to be quality time. So you take your time and you give it to us real, Skip. And here's a warm welcome to Skip out of New York.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you kindly. So I sat here and I listened, and you guys actually took me back to my roots. First of all, giving blessing and high honors to my higher power who allowed me to be able to sit here today. Giving thanks to my brothers and sisters in the room that deepen my knowledge and open my eyes to how cunning, baffling, and insidious this disease is. Thanking the rooms for putting my feet on the ground and pointing me toward a path of recovery. I am in long-term recovery, but I do a whole lot with this recovery. So when we go into recovery, we are leaning on the lived experiences that we have, that the lived experiences that other people have, that are standing to the front of us, to the side of us, behind us, that are holding us up and keeping us from falling. What I want to talk about exclusively is that lived experience. I'm going to talk about the validity of that lived experience. I also want to honor the fact that I am here in Black History Month. That's a mouthful. Black History Month has been dedicated to help ease the trauma that Black and brown bodies has been fostered on Black and brown bodies since the United States, since this great nation was an infant. Not only that, not only can you look at Black History Month as a form of reparations, but you can also look at Black History Month as a time for Black and brown bodies to shine, to broadcast Black joy. And right now, I'm sitting in a room full of Black joy. And at the end of the day, recovery does not care about what color, creed, race you are. It hits all of us. Addiction touches all of us, but all of us can achieve recovery by using our lived experiences, by leaning on the lived experiences of others. So I thank you, my brothers, for giving me snippets of your story, for giving me that inspiration, for bringing me back to my roots. Yes, I got clean in NA. I did. I attended meeting after meeting. I went to area. I did everything. And then I danced at an anniversary. Danced because I was set free. I was set free when I walked into NA, when I knew that a mind and mood altering substance no longer had that hold on me. But let me speed this up a little. This is Black History Month. Our great nation has a practice of incarcerating Black and brown bodies. We live in a mass carceral state. And in this great month, honoring Black history and Black and brown bodies, I want to talk to you about a solution that we're coming up on, that we're implementing out here in New York City. So like we all use our lived experiences in the work we perform. And for us, it's not work, it's necessary. I need to do this. I need to give away what I have. Otherwise, I can't keep it. I need to help support and assist others as I was supported and assisted as I was coming through my paces. And I get that. We are peers. I am a certified mental health and substance abuse peer. But the one thing that hasn't been looked at, and which needs a light shined on it, is the presence of lived experiences in this broken criminal justice system this nation has. I don't know about you guys, but here in New York City, we're hurting. We are hurting. Violence is up. We have mass incarceration. We have an opioid epidemic. We're being hit on all fronts. And everything is pointing toward the criminal justice system. So you can be criminalized because you have a substance abuse problem. You can be criminalized because you suffer from a mental illness. You can be criminalized because you're homeless and sitting on a park bench. But what I'm here to do today, I'm here to reform that. My name is Skip, and I am a change agent. I am determined to change the system that tried to break me and continues to break others. When you look at people who are incarcerated, we need to be able to use the framework of lived experiences to inform and reform. I used to beg for a seat at the table as peer support. I don't beg for a seat at the table anymore. I am the table. Y'all need to come sit with me. And it's only through this pathway that we can reform this criminal justice system that has decimated the Black and brown population of this country. It is only through that. So what I'm doing now, I'm taking a framework of peer support. You know, every state, or mostly every state, has their own certification process for peer support, but it all boils down to the same thing. You take your lived experiences and you use it to mentor, to assist, and to support others. Peer support has always lived in behavioral health, be it mental health or substance abuse. We've always had that concept. Here in New York City, we're pushing a movement forward where we're taking the peer support literally out of behavioral health and inserting it into the criminal justice system, not just in reentry where you're coming home and you're still facing the collateral consequences of being incarcerated, but all along the spectrum from the day you hit foot in your community and potentially are touched by the criminal justice system through the community, through the police stations, through the court system, on up to local, state, and federal incarceration. And then upon reentry, when you're coming home to nothing and no one and no way to work it out, when you're coming home to these collateral consequences. I am 56 years old. I went back and forth to jail from the time I was 18 until my early 40s. Even though I'm a senior manager of peer services, even though I have a team underneath me, and I'm an executive now, I still face the collateral consequences of being involved in the criminal justice system. But my story doesn't just start in there. I've been in every system New York City and New York State has to offer. I've been homeless. I've been in the family court system. I've been in the substance abuse houses. I've slept on park benches. I've just been everywhere. I've been in local, state. The only thing I have not done is been in a federal lockup, and I guess I should count my lucky stars that didn't happen. But I use all of these experiences to craft who I am today. And who I am today, like I said, is a change agent. My team and I work in pre-trial, which is the basis of the New York State bail reform laws, where they have finally reformed how they offer bail. It used to be a marginalized person from a socioeconomic background that does not have that much opportunity. And I get arrested with someone working on Wall Street, but we both jumped the turnstile at the subway station. That person from Wall Street is going to get an offer of a $500 bail. They're going to be able to go in their pocket and pay that bail. Me, because I'm homeless, because I'm living on the street, I'm not going to be able to pay that $500 bail. I don't have a record. Me and this guy from Wall Street, we are the same. Me and this banker, we are the same. We have no history. We just committed one crime. He gets to go home because he's fortunate enough to have a job. Because I don't have a job, I am further criminalized and remanded to jail. The bail reform laws have changed that. We are now not looking at anybody's socioeconomic status. We're basically looking at you, at your history, at what we can do for you other than lock you up while you fight your crime or your charge. We all know you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. So just because I got arrested for something doesn't mean you have to criminalize me further. Bail reform also gives people the opportunity to fight from the street. They stay at home or wherever. They stay working. They stay going to school. They stay providing for their families. Because if they was locked up, then that whole family dynamic now goes to the ground. Now you got mom or whoever out there trying to get on public assistance and food stamps because the breadwinner, the person who got arrested for a minor crime, is languishing in jail waiting for a court date. So the New York City bail reform laws try to implement something different, and me and my team work right there in the thick of things. We work in supervised release. No, we are not parole. We are not probation. We are here to assist and to help mitigate barriers that might prevent you from returning to court. And as we do that, your record with us actually goes back to court, which will eventually help you in the long run. So if you come to us and one of your barriers for potentially returning to court is you don't have a job, we're going to help you find a job. You're homeless, we're going to help you find housing. You are out there doing something to feed your family. We're going to put resources and food on your table so that whatever you were doing You don't have to do. And we do this from a trauma-informed standpoint where we peel back the layers of the onion, and it's not about what you did. It's about what happened to you. What came along and knocked you off your dean, and now you are out here doing whatever. And it's non-judgmental. I don't push, I don't force, I don't tell people what to do as a peer. I help you with decision-making processes. I give you resources. I help you look at everything from A to Z, pros and cons. And then I stand by your side as you make an informed decision. You are the master of your own life, not me, not the judge, not the DA, not the police. You are. And you know what's best for you. And you know what you would like to achieve. And I simply help you achieve it. So when we think about Black history, and we think about the thousands of Black and brown bodies that are caught up in the criminal justice system, we need to start thinking about innovative tactics such as this. We need to start thinking about bail reform. We need to start thinking about using people with lived experiences that can get further with someone than a police officer can when it's someone in crisis, that can get further with someone than a DA or a lawyer. Why? Because we fought the good fight, just like you. We went through Shaolin. We fell on our sword many different times, but we got up and we are here to tell a tale. So I want to thank the McShin Foundation. I want to thank Honesty. I want to thank you guys for giving me that little oomph, bringing me back to my history. Recovery is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And it's a beautiful thing when we can introduce it to someone and it takes hold of someone else. It's like a flower blossoming. We need to give everybody that opportunity, just like it was given to us. I would not be here today if someone did not take me under their wing and did not school me and educate me and just be there for me as I work my way through some things. And now I do the same thing for everybody else. And I also take my talents and look at that criminal justice system that ensnares all of us. Our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our sisters, our children. And once it gets hold of you, it really doesn't want to let you go. But we have to learn how to fight it. And I see this 1 minute warning coming up. And y'all know I'm from the city. Y'all know I can talk. You know what I'm saying? I've been told I got the gift of gab. Yeah, because I was out there hustling. And I take that hustle and we work that and I do that like this. But I want to thank y'all for having me. I want to thank the audience. I want to tell y'all that there is hope. There is recovery. There is light at the end of that tunnel. You just got to keep walking toward it. That's all. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, Skip, thank you so much. I can't wait to get you on the podcast. We're gonna burn this one up, man, because I want to know more about the successes of that bail reform taking place in New York. Because I feel like I'm getting bad data on the news, on the
absolutely, yes,
on
you
the
are.
waves. I knew they was BSing me. You know, our last speaker for this segment, he's an awesome individual. Black History Month. You may not know it, Skip, but this August I'll be celebrating 40 years in recovery. And I learned more about
virtual hugs, brother. Virtual hugs.
I've learned more about Black history while being in recovery than I could have ever learned in any other lifetime, period. And I watch people in recovery, and I've known Ron for quite a few years. I've known Ron longer than Ron's known me, because I got to watch Ron in action on some of his service positions out there. And, we're part of a group of men, and each year we gather and we meet, and it's a spiritual gathering. And one of the topics we always have at our gathering is, what kind of man do you want to be? And I've always been a bit of a gangster type guy, not crime gangster, but I kind of march to my own drum beat. But I've watched Ron, and I've watched the men he hung with. And I tell myself, that's the kind of man I really want to be right there. So Ron may not recognize some of the changes that have taken place in me over the years, but it's because of my association with Ron and that group of men we hang out with. It questioned I questioned myself, am I being the best man I can be? So, Ron, I get people around me all the time, they want to be like me because they really don't know all my shortcomings and character defects. But it's a reflection of me wanting to be like you and the men we run with when we gather each fall down in Tampa. So, Ryan, you're an awesome guy. I know you're a veteran. I know you spent some time on Capitol Hill. I know a little bit about your journey. I know you were very close to a lot of the changes that have taken place race-wise, nationwide. I know you ran with some of the true change makers from the Martin Luther King days and whatnot. And I'm honored and privileged to have you on Carrot Talk tonight. I love you. And take it away, Ron. Welcome.
My name is Ron Miller, and I've learned a lot from the other speakers tonight, and I had no idea where to go, what to do. I gave my family away. I used to say I lost them. I gave my family away because I put the use of chemicals ahead of that. I gave away my career. I gave away a lot of things, but I lost myself at a point in my life, and I had no idea how to change. I was out of control, and I can't take credit for any change in my life because my change is a result of the work of other people, like the ones that we heard speak tonight. And there were some people in Washington, D.C. who had laid the foundation for some things that I needed to hear. By the time I got to hear these people talk and witness what they were doing, I had been baptized, sprinkled, and anointed with oil, and I could not stop getting high. I had lived out west, in the Midwest, down south, wherever, and everywhere I went, there I was. But my experience has been with 12-step recovery, and before I found 12-step recovery, I was in a dope house one night, and something just stopped me, and I started talking to that person or that entity, and I told God, I said, it's kind of like if I could talk to God and like, let's make a deal. And I said, if you get me out of this, I will help other people who have been where I am now. And I really thought I had the authority to make a deal with God at that time. And not long after that, I did get some help. And I'm very fortunate that I got that help. I think I've lived a life since that time to give everything I have to try to help other people who have been where I have been. I listen to the other people on the platform, and I've done just about everything I know of to get high, except slept with another man, and I haven't been arrested yet. And I pray for mercy, not justice, because I did what I had to do in my active addiction. I had no idea how I was going to keep that bargain with God, but it's happened, and I'm not sure how it happened, but through the efforts of other people, I've been able to apply myself. By the time I reached the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, I had a background in research, policy development, technical assistance, publications, and things like that. So I had some skill sets, but that couldn't get me clean. It couldn't keep me clean. I needed the experience of people who had faced what I had gone through and found a way out. And fortunately, they were there for me. Just by simply being available and not trying to exercise potential, but exercise my action. As John had shared earlier, I was placed in positions where I could make a difference. And I'm the kind of person that, I'd rather see a sermon than hear one. So you can't talk me into things. I'd rather see your actions. I'd rather see your example. And that's what I'm doing tonight. I'm sharing an example of what I did to get change in my life. And I saw help from the people who had been through what I had been through, and they freely helped me. And as time went on, I learned some values that I was not applying in my life before I found recovery, like commitment and being of service and doing that inside work. Plato once said that an unexamined life is not worth living. And I had not done any self-examination. I was in my 30s when I stopped using, but before then, it was all about me examining you and taking your inventory and watching your action rather than looking at my insides. And that's one of the things that 12-step recovery, allowed me to do. And by looking at my insides, I became a change agent for myself, a change agent for other people. I've been able to, since I've been involved in 12-step fellowships, to write and publish literature as an anonymous person, to help other people in publication of other literature. Since I've been in 12-step recovery, I've been able to do research through surveys and instruments to find out what other people thought and what would be best for us to help other people. I can remember many years ago, I was in a forum with a woman from South Africa, and we were doing some roundtable discussion, and I asked her a few questions about what was recovery like in Africa for Africans, and she basically told the truth, and which I already knew, that there was not much addiction recovery 12-step work going on the African continent. And I was in a position where I could influence that, and through that she helped us get pods of people from various communities where expatriates from the United States and Germany and United Kingdom had started pockets of 12-step recovery meetings in various parts of Africa. And we set out to place those people together and to gather some information from them. And not long after that, I made a trip to Africa for the first time in my life. And I can remember my mother telling me when I was very small that I was of African descent. And I really was embarrassed by that because of what I'd seen on television. I'm 72 years old, and I remember seeing that Tarzan thing where this guy would yodel in the woods, and after he yodeled in the woods, everything was at his beck and command, and the animals would bow, and then the native people would actually be terrified, and the eyes would get big, and I didn't want that. But my mother made it possible for me to get literature. And she placed literature, because I read everything as a kid, and she educated me about some of the things that I needed to see, and so I was able to actualize that and make it to the African continent, and and from that, was able to empower, beginning with 14 nations in Africa, to foster 12-step recovery, starting off in East Africa and South Africa, and now 12-step recovery has proliferated and grown on the African continent. And fortunately for me, by the example that I've been trying to live for since 1984, I've been on 6 different continents, trying to show by example what recovery can be. I've been in a position, you all have placed me in a position where I've talked to heads of governments. I've had audiences with the United States drug czar, all because someone else helped me and shined the light and planted a seed of recovery to help me change my life. And today, I know for a fact that I'm the best grandfather in the whole United States of America. And I got proof of that because all you have to do is ask my grandchildren. I feel the same way, and those are the same reports I get from my children. Today, the plaintiff, that's the mother. We have a great relationship where we co-grandparent those people, and I've been able to do other things in the community other than recovery as a result of 12-step recovery. I'm not sure exactly what I was supposed to present tonight, but I thought I would talk about, as an African American, I remember looking in the Webster's dictionary, and what I saw was addiction was being a slave to a habit. And I realized I didn't enslave myself. No one punished me. I went out and sought that out. And no one ever forced me to use chemicals. I sought out those chemicals and I used them, and I used everything else that was in my presence. And through some efforts of other people, I've been able to change. And before I stop talking, I want to thank the Machen Foundation and Honesty and all the other participants, because addiction is a deadly disease, but it also creates suffering for not only the addict who's using, but their families, their children, and everybody else associated with that. So there's a lot of work to be done. And I'm grateful that I've been put in a position where I can make amends, to make it right for some of the evils that I've done, some of the repulsive things that I've done on behalf of getting high. And sometimes not just to get high, but I was just mean and vicious. And I don't see myself as a mean, vicious person today. I have a servant's heart because I've done that inside work. Thank you again, Honesty and John, for allowing me to participate in this platform. I'm honored that you asked me to do this in Black History Month. And I'm an African American and a proud individual, very proud, not necessarily in that order of importance, but I think it's important that I make a contribution to the society that I live in. And my little niche is to help a recovering addict. Thank you.
Oh, well put, Ron. Well put. I'm sitting here reflecting, listening to all these wonderful speakers, and I know all the great speakers we've had in the past and in the future that we're going to have. And just think, we're only in 40 jails and prisons through one pay-tell company, and there are thousands of jails and prisons in America. And I only wish, and we contribute these videos to all these facilities, by the way. We got over 1 million views just in 40 institutions. Imagine how many views we would get. How many people would hear the hope shot that we all present if we were able to get in a lot more of these jails and prisons. I sometimes wonder if there's not a little conspiracy just to keep the criminal justice system vibrant and going good. Like they can't find a better industry to invest in or something. And I think we proved that today. I know recovery works. That Richmond City Jail used to house 1,500 inmates, and now it's a Richmond City Justice System. There's only 600. So we're really cutting into somebody's head count there, and I'd like to see the day where we got more recovery outlets than we have criminal justice outlets. That's where we need to go with that little piece. I love all you guys, man. And Skip, I can't wait to get you back on the podcast. Ron, I can't wait to see you down in Tampa. I hope we get something organized this year. I really miss those gatherings. Walt, I'm sure I'll see you soon enough. And by the way, Walt he's our in-house preacher over at McShin. And on Sunday mornings, we do a live broadcast every Sunday morning, breaking the chains. And I personally think it's one of the best spiritual services you can tune into. And Walt, we're really glad and lucky to have you over at McShin right now, So honestly, as usual, you do a wonderful job organizing everything. If it was up to me, we'd be watching the Golf Channel right now. Honestly, anything before the break?
No, we're just going to take a quick break. Thank you all for speaking, and we'll be right back. We have 2 quick videos to show. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. Bye-bye.
My name is Monique Runge, and I am the Peer Community and Program Liaison here at the McShin Foundation. What that means is that I assist our Director of Female Programs, and I also assist our CEO with special events and social media. What I love about working here is it's such a hands-on experience. I get to really dive in deep with the women when they first get here in their intensive program and kind of see them grow from there and progress through like their recovery journey. I love how hands-on everyone is here. We all have lived experience, so it gives it something special and it's something different. And it's just awesome to be part of this team that helps show women that there's a better way of life. The grass is definitely greener on this side, and I believe in them just like they believed in me here from McShin. I actually went through McShin's intensive program last March. My clean date is March 18th, 2021, and I moved up through the sober living homes and actually eventually ended up becoming staff here. So it's pretty awesome that they saw something special in me and showed me that, you know, I could do this, and now I'm able to show these women that they can do it too.
Hi, my name is Dixie Lewis. I'm the Director of Female Programs here at the McShin Foundation. And what that means is that I oversee all the women and make sure that they get all the services that they need. I've been working at McShin since March of last year. And I'm also an alumni of McShin. I came here February 1st of 2019, and God willing, I will celebrate 3 years next month. I came through the intensive program house and then transitioned into sober living. What I love about working at McShin is that I get to see people's growth. I get to see them when they walk through the doors, and I get to watch them throughout the process and throughout the recovery and help them through the recovery. McShin helped save my life, so I'm really grateful today that I'm in a position where I can help save others' lives.
Well, well, well.
Welcome back. We got a few speakers, and then we're going to wrap it up later, but it is my honor. I wanted, the first speaker is a woman in long-term recovery, beautiful, beautiful woman, and I've heard her speak several years throughout my recovery, and definitely admire, you know, the passion for recovery and to help other humans, which is super cool. But I also get to experience watching, or if I'm ever present, in the spiritual service that she helps with Walt. She's got, I was reading her bio, she's got so many daggone degrees, I can't even name them all. So she's not only that, she's super smart and has a bunch of degrees, and she is a preacher as well. So with that, I give you Melvina. You're on mute. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay. My name is Melvina. I'm a blessed and grateful woman in long-term recovery. Thank you, Honesty and John, for inviting me to participate on this platform. It's always an honor to be asked to do anything and to be able to share hope, you know, in recovery. And so I'm just trying to think about, like, I've been here 31 years. My clean date is June 3rd, 1990. So I got clean in Brooklyn, New York, which is where I'm from. I'm a proud native of Brooklyn, New York. So when I think back to June 3rd, 1990, and what brought me to recovery, I was having fun. I was partying, I was having fun. And then it just wasn't fun anymore. And the reason it wasn't fun anymore is because as a kid, I wanted to be a teacher. And so that was my heart's desire. And now I was 32 years old and I was working for the state of New York, but it was kind of like just a paper pushing type job. So it was good, but I knew that I wanted more. And so because I was just living a pretty humdrum life and knew that there was more, I was like, okay, using stopped being fun for me. And I sought help through my primary care physician. And I was sent to outpatient. And, I often say this when I think back to how I learned about Narcotics Anonymous, because really, this is the best kept secret. Well, today we have more mediums for people knowing about recovery. But back in 1990, we didn't have Google or any of these platforms. And so, how I found out about Narcotics Anonymous was being in an outpatient program and someone mentioned it. And I was like, oh, well, what is that? But I had to find it in the yellow pages. And so I attended my first meeting and immediately I felt this was a place that could help me just based on listening to people's stories. And back in 1990 in New York, if somebody had 5 years clean, that was like a lot of clean time. And so I was impressed that people could, based on the stories that people told, that you could recover from addiction and achieve some things. And so one of the things that was really attractive to me was that people were rebuilding their lives and they were talking about being in school. Well, that struck something with me because that's something that I always wanted, was to go to school. So I had dropped out of high school when I was 17 and I failed the GED 4 times before I finally passed it in the 80s, but I didn't go to college until I had 7 years clean. And so I pursued what my passion, which was education. And so as a result of that, as Honesty said, I have a lot of degrees and some of them just kind of happened, not because I was planning all of those, but just one of the things about the education door is that once you go through that door, there are just so many other opportunities there that I didn't know about. And so I have a master's in theology, a master's in rehabilitation counseling, and a master's in theology. I think I may have said that, or chaplaincy. And I'm a certified substance abuse counselor. So, as a result of recovery, and I heard Ron earlier talking about, what did I want to do, with this? How could I make a difference? And so how I saw myself making a difference was to work in the field of substance abuse. And I had the honor of working at Rubicon, here in Richmond and working with the women. And so I love working with women. I know people say women are hard to work with, and I don't really think so. I don't even think we have special needs. We have needs like everybody else. And it's a matter of just listening to people's story and trying to just understand, what they're saying. I don't have to agree with it. But that has been, and it still is to this day, the best job I ever had. Like, I absolutely loved working at Rubicon and working with women. And someone else mentioned about just seeing that a kind word, just believing in someone, how that could really make a difference and help them to make better decisions for themselves. So today, when I see women and men who, were in treatment, and I see how they struggled early on, and I see that they have taken a hold of this thing called recovery and living a great life, it makes me feel good. It warms my heart that, wow, this person invited me to be a part of their recovery process. And that's what I see, that it's an invitation. And so for me, with just to go back to my story a little, the step process. So when I started doing step work, one of the things for me that step work did was really open up this idea about who I am. So when you go through 1, 2, 3, and you get to that 4th step and you learn some things, and I don't know why people are so afraid of the 4th step, because it really is an eye opener. It's not about being all bad. It's just, things that I learned about myself. But in terms of Black history, it caused me to want to know more about my people. So my mother's family, my father's family, I wanted to know more about that because I do realize that my self-identity is rooted in the people that I came from. And there's something to be proud of. And so even though my mom drank, my dad drank, we had some alcoholism in my family. But my mother and father taught me some good values. And so Narcotics Anonymous didn't, I didn't come here not knowing anything. I came here with some values. I just violated some of them because of, me being in active addiction and not living up to, my own expectations, more or less anybody else's. And so I've gained a good sense of self through the 12-step process. And just by reading and seeking out information about my heritage, I think that that's so important to know who you are, where you come from. I just gives me a sense of, sense of well-being. And so, I don't know, like I'm real thankful, real grateful. I am going to Morocco in 2 weeks. I'm gonna first time traveling to the African continent, so I'm excited about that. My daughter and I and some other people, are going. And I do attribute that to being on this path of recovery, right? I attribute that to one thing I say. So I'm a person who I would consider myself, I am consistently inconsistent. Like that's the only thing, well, the one thing that I've done consistently is stay clean, right? But I've changed jobs. I've been married 3 times, twice to the same person. So just things I'll get involved in, and then I lose interest in them. But I have consistently stayed connected to my recovery, and I think that that has been the thing that pulls me forward. And then, my relationship with God. Narcotics Anonymous is not a religious program, it's a spiritual program, but it also helped me to touch down with that part of myself. And so, in even accepting when God said that I'm called to, preach, I'm like, not me. I don't think so, because I didn't see myself in that role. But over time, I've come to the acceptance that I have some skills, talents, and abilities, and the step process helped me to unearth some of those things. So I have some skills, talents, and abilities to help myself. So number one, I have to help myself before I can help someone else. And once I can do that, those skills, talents, and abilities to help other people to become whatever it is that they so desire to become. So yeah, I'm just really, really thankful to know who I am, and just to be proud of who I am, just for today. So thank you for letting me share.
Good job, Melvina. I remember I was on that Rubicon board for 12 years, and you were legendary in that boardroom. So I know you had a great impact on the organization and the women. And I would have never thought you flunked the GED unless you'd have said something, because you always struck me as brilliant. So I did look at you like one
Brilliant
of
people fail.
I hear you. Can't work a crossword puzzle unless I Google things. But our next speaker, Ron B, Mr. Burton, Ron's one of those fellows I've known for quite a long time, and I've always respected and kind of looked up to Ron. And this being Black History Month, I thought Ron would be a good hit for this, because he's got good history with being Black. And that was a joke, Ron. I know. I'm glad you got that, man. But I've been in some good arguments with Ron before over the years, and Ron's the kind of guy. It's like, we're on the same page, Ron. I mean, what are we even arguing over, And you got a sense of humility that I actually, like a moth to flame, I really love to be around your sense of humility. I really do. And even when, we might be in a situation where I don't think we're thinking alike, I still think humility. I said, oh my God, the man is just so full of grace, it ain't even funny, man. And I've seen the work you do in recovery, and I've watched you. And what comes to my mind is a true warrior, Ron. You're a genuine value and warrior, not only to recovery, but a wonderful example of Black History Month, I think. And I'm really proud and honored that you want to come on to talk tonight. And let me introduce Ron. Take your time. Glad you're here.
Oh man, I'm a grateful curtain addict named Ron. What do you say after that? And as everyone was speaking, and I thought about the night in Black History Month, right? It just so happened that I too work in the field now. When I first came here, I had a career, I had a degree, so I was working in Fortune 500 company, and I was making a lot of money. And I thought that was what life was all about, me just making money, but the realization hit me real quickly in recovery. I was making the money, but I couldn't keep the money. And I wasn't satisfied with what I was doing, right? So I'll never get been in treatment, man. And my counselor at the time, he's passed away, and thank God, my counselor and my mentor, Herman Taylor. And when Herman passed, man, that was a tough day in my life. But I remember him telling me, you would make a great counselor. I looked at him, I said, you have lost your mind. Counseling do not pay any money. So I said, no, I don't think that was for me. And I don't know, what was it, 2001? Yeah, 2001. When 9/11 happened, all of my computer work, everything that I did, to start outsourcing. And I was an entrepreneur even back during that time. And one of the things I realized early in recovery is, and being Black in recovery, and wanted to be an entrepreneur and stand on my own. That was a lot of work. I was told that I won't get it done. I was told that I won't be successful. I mean, in recovery, I was told these things. So of course, me being the rebellious guy that I am, I'm gonna prove you wrong. Because people told me I won't ever stop shooting dope, but I won't ever stop smoking crack. I won't ever stop drinking alcohol. And when I reflected back into my history, my culture, right? And I just think about all the times when I was around my uncle and my aunts, my grandparents. These people worked hard. My grandmother and my grandfather worked on an all-white college campus. My grandmother was a maid, and my grandfather dug ditches. And they did all these work for all these people all day long. And then when they came home, because I stayed with them for about 4 years when my mother went through a divorce. And when they would come home, my grandfather had me and my brother in the garden with him. And it wasn't no little backyard garden either, right? I'm talking about a whole lot of green, a whole lot of planting this. I mean, it's like everything that you could eat, he raised. So and I got used to hard work even back then. And I used to say that, you know what? That was the hardest time of my life. I worked from sun up to sundown each and every day. Now, what I also noticed about them was every Friday, they partied. They got drunk every Friday. It was not a miss, not ever. But the thing about them, which blew my mind, was Sunday, they didn't do nothing but recuperate. Monday, they got up, didn't fuss, went to work, and started it all over again. Now, my dumb hand, but somewhere I must have missed that. Because when I started the party, it wasn't no stopping on Sunday and getting ready to go back to work. My family wasn't the only one. So when we talk about Black history, man, I have to look at the culture, my background, how I was raised, because, that played a major part in how I participated in my addiction and how me as a human being participated in my life, even in my job effort, even in my work effort. You know, all of that was geared towards how I learned how to live one day at a time. You know, and I always praise my mother, my stepfather. I didn't have a great relationship with my father, but you know, and I think about all of the time, all the people I wanted to look up to, and how I chose the flashiness, the people in the street, the shiny shoes, the slick paints, the slick talking. All that was very, very attractive to me, man. You know, and my home was, look, I wasn't raised to be in the street. I chose to go to the street. I mean, because my background, my whole family is full of educators, almost every one of them. You know, and school was boring to me. In the 11th and 12th grade, I was taking college courses. And it was like, when Melvina said she failed the G, no, I still ain't believing that one, Melvina. I got to see proof. I mean, because I have admired that woman my whole recovery. I have watched her with the education piece, and she was a motivator for me to go back to school and to get into this field. And I remember when I got into the field, I was like grandfathered in. I didn't have a degree, but I passed the CSAC certification. Then I had to go back to school and get a degree. And when I started working in this field, man, at the beginning, I too worked at Rubicon. I'm not even embarrass myself and tell y'all what they paid at the time. You know, but I stuck in there. I had to downsize a lot. And this is one of the beautiful things about recovery. And I don't share this much, but it's like in being Black in recovery. Look, I've had to remake myself 3 times in recovery. Never thought I would be capable of doing that. You know, and I had some major help from people like you, John, from especially Moses and Melvina. You know, when I see people do things, and you know what, I'm not one of these people to and say I can't do it. I'm one of these people, I'm gonna go out and try. I'm gonna do my best. Because if I see something I like, then yeah, I'm gonna go for it. And this is just who I am, who I've always been, and being in recovery and being Black in America, that ain't gonna change me. I never let my color hold me back from doing whatever it is I wanted to do. Now that may have some obstacles that was holding me back, but it won't gonna be me. I won't gonna be that one whining and crying about everything. That's just not who I am. I would find a way to get it done. You know, and my sponsor tell me that all the time, and that's Moses. Ron, you're one of the most perseverant people I know. You would never ever give up. Ain't no give. Look, if I had gave up, I'd have never got clean. And that's the way I look at it. Because if I had gave up on me, I'd either be in penitentiary, shooting dope, or dead. So why give up when I'm in recovery? Why some little things come along and recover? All of a sudden, my whole world is shut. No, it's not. It's just one isolated incident in my life that I need to work through. And when I start prioritizing things, it was easy for me to deal with life on lifetime. You know, and it's like, it's been fun, man. My journey has been fun. It has truly, truly been fun. You know, I am a successful entrepreneur. I am doing things that I didn't even think I would be able to do. And I got a lot of help. A lot of help, man. So this Black History Month, man, and I was thinking about all of the people that came before me that have passed in recovery. I thought about a whole lot of my predecessors, man. You know, in this past year, you know, and I would like for us to well, also, speaking of recovery, you know, I am the chairperson of the convention committee for the Richmond's first convention that we're putting on. And I wanted our theme to be our predecessors. Because if it weren't for you guys that got here before me and set the tone, I would not be where I'm at today. I don't think Narcotics Anonymous in this area would not be the same if it wasn't for people like Moses and John. You know, y'all set y'all roots in. Y'all ain't let nobody chase y'all up out of your spot. You know, and I don't care how much difference in me and John may have, but there's one thing we totally agree on. Once an addict, not always an addict. We do get clean around here, and we do stay clean. You know, but I'm too. I'm in long-term recovery. I mean, my anniversary is January. Matter of fact, me and some people say I went out and used again and came back with this clean day because that's my sponsor's clean day. I wish it was that simple, but that ain't how it happened. I just celebrated 31 years of recovery January the 4th, 1991. You know, and I got clean right after my mother passed, you know, because that was my greatest neighbor. And I knew she wanted her son to make it, and I knew her son wanted to make it. So every year I celebrate is for her. You know, so that means she has had 31 years of celebration with her son. You know, and I live to recover. I love this thing called recovery. And I'll do anything for my recovery. And thank you, John. And I just appreciate the opportunity, man, you know, to let people know that all Black men in America do not need to end up in the penitentiary. They do not. I have no problems incurring, and I don't work at I don't know how many institutions. I done been in I don't know how many. I could name a whole bunch of them, but hey, you know, I just like doing what I'm doing. So thank you all for inviting me. Thanks for having this moment.
Thank you very much. I love your piano in the background.
I can't play.
Our last but certainly not least here at the McShin Foundation speaker and Care Talks is one of my favorite humans of all time. He has not only helped McShin and the participants that we serve, he helps the families that we serve, and he has helped me in a few different ways in my personal recovery and in my marriage. And with that, I give you sweet, sweet Moses Wright. Mosey. You're on mute, Moses. You're on mute. Still on mute. Justin, can you unmute him? Oh, you're unmuted. Talk, Moses. No, still muted.
His mic might be turned down on his side. Check your mic.
The volume, Mo.
Volume, I mean, your volume might be down.
This is when you need your grandchild around so they can tell you how to work your thing there, man.
I know that's right.
I don't know what else to
Stay
do.
with it, Moses. Start hitting buttons, buddy.
Look at that little microphone at the bottom, Mo.
That's one way to do it. Make a phone call.
Phone a friend.
I'm Moses. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. I'm a person in long-term recovery.
Man, this is old school here, baby.
Okay.
All right. Uh-oh.
Am I reverberating? Sounds like it's feedback. Is there feedback?
Okay, again, I'm Moses, and I'm an addict in long-term recovery, and I'm grateful to the God of my understanding for another shot at life. I drank whiskey and shot dope and snorted volumes like a madman, thinking that I needed that to feel better, not knowing that that was the very thing that was tearing me down. Thank God for recovery and people in recovery, especially a gentleman who worked at the methadone program who suggested when I went to him begging to get me into treatment somewhere because Rubicon had told me I couldn't die there. I had to go somewhere else if I wanted to kill myself. But he suggested that he wanted to see how a middle-class Black person did in recovery. Now, I had never been successful in my attempts to recover, and that had been like 13 different times. But this time I stayed through detox because I was so beat up. I was really spiritually, physically, and mentally bankrupt. And I remember looking out the window on a snowy night in detox, and my window faced 29th Street, and I asked God, please, don't let me go back out there again. I don't think I could take it. And I was blessed to be able to go to a treatment program where I stayed over for 30 days, and the counselor there had the wherewithal to suggest that I go to a halfway house. Now, I had a halfway house in mind, but it didn't match with hers. What she said to me was, I want you to go to this particular halfway house that was run by Blacks and had Black clients. She said, because if I didn't change my attitude, that I wouldn't make it. I didn't know what she meant at that time, but the longer I stayed in recovery, the more I found out. Because I lived a fantasy life. Absolutely no basis in reality. I had worn my mother and dad out, and they had tried everything that they knew and couldn't get me clean. But one day my mother said that I had to leave. I had to leave her home and try it on my own. I actually thought that that was an opportunity to show that I was a man, but it wasn't quite like that. I was talking about running the street and running girls and the like. That wasn't recovery. I ended up in Newport News in a halfway house, and I remember a guy, an older white biker, and I liked him because everybody he ran into stepped around him. He demanded respect, and he got it. He asked me to go with him to Hampton City Jail to talk with the inmates because they didn't listen to him. He needed somebody Black to come in. I didn't know what that meant. But when I went in there and was able to walk out, something happened to me. That was my first experience with service work. And I'll tell you, it was revelating. I remember going to a regional meeting in College Park, Maryland, and that was part of our area back then. And I saw a little guy who looked a lot like me, and I asked him, you know, about this mad crowd that I had ridden up with who seemed to be off. They just was crazy. I couldn't imagine anybody in the front seat bearing his butt and mooning the bikers that were riding alongside of us. I thought, who in the world are these people? What this little guy said to me was that it sounds like everybody is having fun but you. And I thought, who is this sucker talking to? But he made sense. And on the trip back home, I had fun with the rest of them. I've learned to change my attitude, and that made all the difference. When I came home from the halfway house, I began doing working in one of our local projects. My brother got a job for me. And because of my training in the halfway house that stuff, I went to a meeting every day at 12, and they went off and did their thing. They shot dope and carried on. But I found out that made a difference in my life. And it allowed me to hang out in the AA clubhouse and be around other recovering people. I remember my first sponsor told him that, I don't have any money and Christmas is coming and I need to do something. He said, well, you don't have to worry about it because we know how to get money. Scared me so badly. I went up to Gray Street and ran in a restaurant and told the man I needed a job. And that was my first job actually in recovery. I did a lot of volunteer work in the early days in prisons. So I went to prisons all over. And I think that started because a buddy of mine that I met when I got here to Richmond, Jeff, would take me to prisons with him. And I had wondered where all of the guys that I used with were. And when we went to Camp 13, there they were. Were incarcerated. And I thought, well, wonder what is this all about? But I made a promise to myself that I would seek to share this recovery that I had found with everyone that I could. And that paid off in spades. Where we had no black meetings in Richmond, they're everywhere now. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have been a part of that. I have an opportunity. First, I want to thank McShin, John, and Honesty for putting up with me, because I realize that I have not met the expectations that one may have had for me in that job. But what it did for me was to save my life, because I had some illnesses that didn't allow me to move around very much. And I got to do what I love, and that's run groups and work with other people. And it has made the difference in my life. I am grateful for the opportunity at McShin to work with the loved ones of our participants. And it's so interesting to me how addicted they are, if I can use that word, how dependent they are on getting good feelings from helping their loved one. And that's the very thing that seems to hold so many back. The loved ones seem to think the same way that the participants think. The participants will come in, I'll interview them, and they'll cry and talk about how much they've hurt their families. But when I ask them, well, what about you? The tears dry up because they can't see how much harm they're doing to themselves. And it's the same thing with the loved ones. They're so invested in trying to help, which actually hurts their loved ones, that they forget about taking care of themselves. And what they do, in my opinion, is project that on to their loved ones, and rather than help, it seems to me that they get in the way. Another point for loved ones of our participants is that there's no one taking care of the loved ones, and they're out there by themselves. Now, there are some 12-step meetings for them, but it's just as hard to get them to go as it is to get their loved ones to go to meetings. And I've seen some interesting things happen, and it's to mention to them self-care and to begin to take a look at helping themselves. It's almost like they're deer caught in headlights. They just can't understand what's being said to them. But I'm really grateful for this time that we take to talk about Black History Month, which I think just needs to happen all the time. But I've seen things happen since I've been clean and since I've been working in recovery that doesn't give everybody an equal shot, I think, at how to recover. When I think of African Americans and how the system has just worked to the detriment of folks being able to see a future for themselves, there are more roadblocks, it seems, especially in the thinking, that keep folks from taking that step to move further. What has been really surprising to me is to see how the criminal justice system wreaks punishment on folks who are actually ill. And I thought it was only happening in my community, and it was. But since I've been at McShin, see Caucasians facing the same kind of disparity that I've seen happen in my community. A guy, a mentor of mine, Peter Bell, talked about the difficulties of being able to live in a hostile society like our country is. He talked also about how the field of chemical dependency has been taken over more or less by academics. And I'm so honored to have an opportunity to see how peer-to-peer recovery works, and that actually people who are have substance use disorder are running the treatment program effectively. You know, that's just a wonderful thing to see. I think that when I think of prejudice, racism, and that kind of thing, I think it's a personal thing full of fear for the individual who suffers from it. And I refuse to be a part of that. What recovery has taught me is to look for the good in people, places, and things. And that seems to serve me better than anything that I've been a part of. So what I'm thinking is forgiveness is the key. And to learn to love one another is what it's all about. The first step for me suggests that I think the best of myself that I can on a daily basis.
Good camera, Mo.
To become a better person, and I'm really grateful for that. So I think that's about all I want to say.
Well, we already decided next month, March 25th, we're going to do these live and in person back at the McShin campus. So this might be our last historical Zoom Care Talks. I think it's time to go live again, even if we got a mask up. But honestly, what do you think?
Yeah, sure. No, thank you all for speaking. All of you have a powerful message. I appreciate you taking the time to give us not only some hope, but some addiction solutions for the community. And like I said, this goes out to all the jails, 48 jails in the United States. And we have over 10,000 followers on our social media. So it's going to go reach to a lot of people. So thank you for your time. Yes, we will be working on next month's event. So look out for that and follow us on social media at Care Talks. Thank you, everyone. Happy Black History Month.
Thank you.
For your time.
All righty.
Bye, Mosey.
This is gonna be the best day ever. This is gonna be the best day ever. Wake up, top of the morning. The bacon is crispy, the coffee is pouring. My meditation is peeling an orange. The bank says I'm already scoring. I got a parking spot right outside. Step into my brand new ride. All we ever get is green lights and blue skies. This is gonna be the best day ever. You got me looking so fresh. I can't get no better. Baby, I'm a T-Rex, ready to rumble, ready to flex. I'm the king of the jungle. Gonna be the best. Shake up. I got a red fruit smoothie. James Brown bumping like I'm living in a